Maryland football could have a top defense in the Big Ten.
You are Locked On Terps, your daily podcast on the Maryland Terps, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, everyone? I'm Tre Moore, host of Locked On Terps, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So thank you guys for making us part of your day. And this episode is brought to you by Mazda. We put the same drive into every detail. Wins define the moment, putting in the work, that defines you. Stay tuned for the highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you. Maryland football has a top defense in the Big Ten heading into next year. I think this might surprise a lot of people, but I think Maryland's defense next year is going to be the strength of the football team. I think a lot of people are going to get carried away talking about Malik Washington and what he brings in his sophomore year, and people might even say Malik Washington can win the Heisman. Maybe we'll talk about that another day, or have different takes like that, like a long shot to win the Heisman or a long shot to win like Big Ten Player of the Year, Big Ten Offensive Player of the Year, or to be like an All-American or something like that. And everyone's going to focus on Malik Washington. When people talk about Maryland football, Malik Washington's going to be the thing that people talk about, and rightfully so. He was arguably one of the best freshman he was one of the best freshman quarterbacks in the entire country. You could probably argue his case to be the best freshman quarterback. You could argue he's the best freshman quarterback in the Big Ten. You could have him above the kid Bryce Underwood at Michigan. Malik Washington deserves all the flowers and everything that he's going to get. And Maryland's been more of an offensive team under Mike Locksley. I mean, Mike Locksley's an offensive guy, obviously, who was the OC at Alabama during the Tua days. And so it makes sense that we've been more of an offensive team for a while now, even though we have seen in years us have really good defense. But I think next year's team is going to be defensive led. And not only that, I think Maryland has the makings to have one of the better defenses in the entire Big Ten. And I mean it when I say that. I look at every level of this football team, and there's no weakness. There's no part of the defense that I'm like, dang, like I wish that was a little bit better. Dang, like they're going to have to improve there. There's not really a weakness. There's not really too many holes in the defense, and I think there's potential there for this unit to break out next year and to be one of the best units, I think, in the Big Ten. I think it's entirely possible. I think it can happen when you look at the guys that we brought in from the transfer portal, when you look at the guys that decided to come back, when you look at that freshman class from last year that got another year older, another year in a Big Ten weight room, another year in the system, guys that were really good last year and played a ton of minutes for us, and guys that are older guys that are able to step up. Like, I don't see the weakness on this defense. I see a 3-level defense that every position group I'm extremely excited for and think it can be really good for Maryland football this year. And so anytime you talk about defense, you got to start with the pass rush. And I think Maryland arguably could have the best pass rush next year in the Big Ten. Like, I don't think that's insane to say. If Sidney Stewart and Zahir Mathis, two guys that were freshman All-American, as good as anyone coming off the edge for freshmen, and usually you don't make that type of impact as a freshman coming off the edge for Maryland football, but those two guys were different. They moved different. They were freaks of nature, both of them, and they both led our team in sacks, and they were our best pass rushers and some of the best freshman pass rushers, if not the best freshman pass rushers in the entire country. And when you talk about them making another jump from year 1 to year 2, when you usually make your biggest jump, it could be nightmare for quarterbacks this season. I haven't seen Maryland with this much edge talent since I've really been following under Mike Locksley and in this kind of era of Maryland football. I haven't seen us have this much edge talent. And we have two guys that are elite coming off the edge next year. I think two guys that could be get 9-10 sacks next year and be all Big Ten types of guys. And so we're going to be able to get to the quarterback. And so that makes our defense look a lot better. And then you throw in 5-star top 10 player in the 2026 class, Zion Ely, as well, who might be better than both of them. And that's not even to put down Sidney Stewart or Zahir Mathis, but that's to put up Zion Ely. He might be better than both of those guys. And when you look at those three guys rotating off the edge, and then you have guys like Nasir Taylor, who's really good as a freshman, D.D. Holmes, who I think can continue to get better as well. The tools are there and the depth is there for Maryland to be good. Like there's guys on the edge, and it's not just Sidney Stewart, Zahir Mathis. There's depth there, like I talked about, and then you get Zion Ely as well, and that unit could be really good. And that's the stars they're not the stars of the defense, but that's kind of the position group that I think we're most excited about and think can be elite. And it comes at a really important position. If you can rush the passer and get to the quarterback, you have a really good chance at winning games. So I think it's a really good spot for Maryland football there. And then so I think our edge is amongst the best in the Big Ten. And then our interior defensive line got a lot better in the transfer portal. We maintained guys from last year who were pretty good, like Ian Thomas, who was pretty good, Bryce Jenkins, who's pretty good. I haven't seen Joel Starlings get in the portal. So we maintain a good base of players that can be pretty good for Maryland football next year in the interior defensive line. But we add guys that I'm really excited about. Derek LeBlanc from UCF was a high-level recruit. I think he could be really good on the interior. He's 6'5", 310 pounds. And then as well as we got back Levon Johnson, who we know is going to be really good on the interior. He could arguably be our best guy next year. And then you add in the twins, Javon Parker and Armand Parker. So you get 4 defensive linemen that are really good. And the Parkers are from Washington, who are potentially have loads of talent if they can stay healthy. And so I think that up front, you get a lot of talent. It's a mixture of veterans and younger guys like a Bryce Jenkins, guys that were at Maryland last year like Ian Thomas, and then you bring in all of these transfers, and all of a sudden that defensive line looks like it's got size. It looks stout. It looks like we can play a lot of different bodies, which I'm excited for. And then I think our linebacker room might be the most underrated unit in the Big Ten. We get our 3 starters back. Trey Reddick, who I think has still tons of talent heading into his junior year now, was good as a sophomore. Daniel Wingate was the leader on our defense last year, had the most tackles, really solid player in the linebacker room. And then Carlton Smith, the freshman from last year, also got a ton of snaps, showed a lot of flashes as well from the linebacker spot. So you have all those 3 guys, and you're like, okay, you get our 3 starters back from next year, who I think Trey Reddick and Carlton Smith could both make big jumps. I think Daniel Wingate, another year, him being a veteran player, he's going to be really good for Maryland football. So I think that linebacker room is also like among the really good groups in the Big Ten. So you have a really good defensive line, a really good linebacker group, and then you look into the secondary. I think that's where the question marks come in a little bit, but I'm still pretty confident in what Maryland has going on in terms of players in the secondary. I still really kind of like the unit, to be completely honest. I think getting back Jamar Glasker definitely helped a lot. I think he's going to be really solid for Maryland next year. He was good last year, and he's a good corner to have as well. And then we also dipped into the transfer portal and got one of BC's really good corners in Amari Jackson, who's been having injuries, but he's been really good since when he's healthy and out there. Been playing since freshman year at BC. Like, he's a really talented guy. But I think in the corner room, I'm projecting Jaden Ships to be elite next year. I think he's going to make the jump. I think he's going to end up being really good next year. And I see a breakout player in that safety or in that corner room with Jaden Ships. I think he's going to end up being really good. But there's players there in that corner room that are going to be really good. And then you move on to safety. You have a couple different guys that are going to make a big impact. You get Le'Veon Scruggs back, who was one of our starters last year, played a ton of minutes, who potentially could get better. And then you get Gavin Edwards, another guy that played a ton of snaps from Maryland football last year too. But then you get the freshman Messiah Delhomme, decided to come back to Maryland football, who made plays all over the field on special teams. And I think him coming back is one of the bigger deals because we know that he has the tools to be one of the better safeties in the Big Ten. I think that's entirely possible with Messiah Delhomme. And so when you go through each position group, you look at it and you're like, they have guys that can rush the passer. They have guys that can stop the run. They have good leaders in the linebacker room that can make plays. They have guys in the corner room that can make plays. The safety room, everyone's back besides one guy. And you're like, this defense could be one of the better ones in the Big Ten. I think that's completely possible. And I'm going to be really depending on the defense because I think it's the better unit on the football team right now. I love that we have a young quarterback that could be one of the better guys in the Big Ten, but I think when you look at it from top to bottom, the defense could be one of the best units. So I'm excited to watch it, and we'll see what ends up happening. Maryland basketball. I haven't been getting enough credit to different guys. I've been kind of focused on a couple, but I want to talk about kind of how Maryland basketball has changed and how it's been great to watch. We'll talk about that next. The winter games are officially here, and if you're anything like us, you're locking in events you only get to see one of the biggest stage every 4 years. And that's why following the winter games on FanDuel just makes sense. From medal counts to individual events to finding your angle on the sports you care about most, FanDuel gives you more ways to stay connected to the action. The drama of curling matches, the start slow and somehow gets intense fast. Speed skating races decided by inches, hockey games that feel different right from the opening face-offs. Even niche events become must-watch when you're fully locked into your competition. FanDuel keeps the entire Olympic experience engaging from start to finish. The winter games are on, and there's no better way to follow them with FanDuel. FanDuel, play your game. Hiring isn't just about finding someone willing to take the job. It's about finding the right person with the right background who can actually help your business move forward. And if you want candidates who match that, you're looking for Indeed sponsored jobs is the move. Because instead of hoping the right person stumbles across your post, Indeed helps you match with quality candidates by boosting your jobs listing to the people who fit your specific criteria like skills, certifications, and location. If I were hiring, I would just want someone who can help. I want someone with real experience who can jump right in. That's what I like about Indeed. You can get specific and target exactly what you need. It saves time because you're spending less energy sorting through mismatches. And with sponsored jobs, your post gets seen by candidates who are actually a fit. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all the boxes with Indeed sponsored jobs. Listeners of this show will get 75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, do it right away with Indeed. I want to give credit to Maryland basketball and Buzz Williams because I was hard on them all year, but they've turned it around. And it's not going to be to get in the tournament. It's not like that big of a turnaround or anything like that, which is kind of sad, definitely watching a team not be able to make the tournament. But over the last couple of games, they've turned it around and have become pretty solid of a basketball team, being Minnesota and Iowa. And they honestly have a chance to get 3 more wins in a row, which is important. I want to see Maryland basketball potentially get in the Big Ten tournament. I know that we're not going to win it. I know we're not going to get into the tournament, but it's extra games for me to talk about. It's interesting. It's a little bit of taste of playoff basketball, and you do never know what happens. Weird teams make runs in the Big Ten tournament, and our next couple of games are all really winnable. Rutgers, a bottom Big Ten team. Northwestern, a bottom Big Ten team. Washington, a bottom Big Ten team. So Maryland honestly has the ability, I think, could be kind of crazy, but to win 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wins in a row. Will we end up doing that? Probably not, but I would love to see us win 2 out of 3 of this stretch of Rutgers, Northwestern, Washington, I think it's entirely possible. I talked about yesterday on the podcast how I thought the game against Rutgers was super winnable, but I think Maryland has kind of become what we kind of wanted them to be earlier on in the season. We're seeing a little bit more of a balanced approach, like different guys doing their role. Like I saw Solomon Washington, Elijah Sanders, Darius Adams, Andre Mills, and David Coit. All 5 of those guys, and you could put Colin Metcalf in that too, against Iowa, all have a big impact on the game. Like it reminded me of last year's team because we had 5 guys score in double digits. Like this looks like last year's team with 5 guys scoring in double digits. Like Diggy Coit having 19, Andre Mills having 24, Darius Adams having 11, Elijah Sanders having 12, Solomon Washington having 10. That like reminds me of last year's team where you have 5 guys that could score the ball, that can shoot the ball. It's kind of like, oh, Julian Reese had 10. Oh, Derek Queen had the 24. Oh, Ronnie Rice went for 19. Oh, Selton Miguel had 11. Like it reminds me a lot of that. And so I think they're definitely becoming a more balanced approach offensively, which is definitely nice to see for Maryland basketball. And it's not like we randomly shot 45% from 3 or 50% from 3, and that was the reason we were doing it. We were getting solid shots while maintaining and being efficient from the 2-point arc and the 3-point arc. And you look at it and you're like, okay, Maryland basketball is in position to win games. And so I've talked a lot about Andre Mills. You guys can check out my video yesterday. I said, I think Andre Mills could become a star. Like I do. I think he'll be back next year for Maryland basketball. There's no way he goes anywhere else. I just don't think it makes sense for him. So I think he'll end up being back. But Darius Adams, same thing. I mentioned him a lot. I think he can be really good, but I want to give credit to some of the other guys. Like Elijah Sanders and Solomon Washington continue to kind of be solid stays in our starting lineup. Both guys are arguably kind of our 2 older leaders on this team. Both have been rebounding the ball well. Solomon Washington has had many performances this year where he's top of our team in points, and getting him back was definitely huge for Maryland, but he's been really solid, like 10 points against Iowa, 9 against Minnesota. He had 9 points, 10 rebounds against Minnesota. He had 13 against Ohio State. He had 14 against Purdue. He had 8 against Michigan State. Like he's been very steady for us. And he's not a guy that's going to score 20 points for us. But if we want to continue to win games and continue to go on this win streak, which is entirely possible, I'm telling you, these teams aren't very good. A lot of these teams that we're about to play, then it's going to be because Solomon Washington and Elijah Sanders stay playing decent. Like Elijah Sanders had 12 against Iowa. He had 20 against Ohio State, 13 against Michigan State. They're a big part of the reason that we're in these games and we're winning games. And so I think those guys are actually playing really solid. And then we saw Colin Metcalf impact the game without scoring the basketball, which to me is really important. Like he's not a guy that's really scoring the basketball, but he's playing decent minutes over the last 3 games, and he's rebounding and he's shot blocking. He can block shots, and we saw that against Iowa. We don't really need him to score the basketball. I know we want some more offense in the lineup, but that's not his game. And he had 25 minutes, 8 rebounds, and 3 blocks. Like to me, that's what we want Colin Metcalf to be. We want him to rebound hard, crash the glass, offensive and defense, and to protect the rim. And he's going to earn upwards of 20 minutes a game. And that's what we saw against Iowa. And he's been playing more minutes. And I think it's because we need size down low without Pharrell Payne. Pharrell Payne being done for the season. Like we need that size down low to be able to make up for some of that. And that's exactly what Colin Metcalf has done. Maryland football has a couple of combine guys. Let's talk about them. Let's wish them luck as they have a big combine day. We'll talk about that next.
I'm Kalia Butler, host of Locked On Women's Basketball, and this is Mazda's Women's Basketball Snapshot, celebrating the work no highlight reel can ever capture. Dawn Staley and South Carolina remain on top of the SEC standings after handing Tennessee their worst defeat in program history with a final score of 93-40. In the 43-point win, South Carolina shot 69% from the field. Tessa Johnson had a perfect shooting night, scoring 24 points, shooting 4 for 4 from the floor, including 2 threes, and made all 4 of her free throws. And UCLA remains undefeated in Big Ten play, topping Michigan 69-66 as Player of the Year contender Lauren Betts put up a double-double, scoring 16 points, collecting 16 rebounds, and adding 5 assists and 3 blocks. These moments are earned off the clock, those long before the lights ever come on. The sweat, the fakes, the doubt, the scrapes, and coming back for more every time. Mazda puts the same drive into every detail. Wins define the moment, putting in the work, that defines you. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you.
Let's talk a little bit about Maryland football sending 2 guys to the combine. And this is probably one of our worst years in terms of sending guys to the combine, getting guys drafted. We just don't have a ton of guys that are going to get drafted, which is definitely sad because I feel like we've done a pretty good job under Mike Locksley, like getting guys to the next level. And that's really what matters and what's counts for a lot of these guys. You want to see them make it to the NFL. You want to see them get paid. And you want to see them be able to make a living off of this, and more than a living, make a ton of money off of this. And it's always good to see that. But Maryland has a couple guys that are headed to the NFL Combine. Alan Herron and Jalen Husky. Both guys are going to the Combine, which is scheduled for February 23rd to March 2nd. It's always in Indianapolis at Lucas Oil Stadium is always where the Combine is held. Maryland has sent 18 players to the NFL Combine over the last 4 years, with 13 Terps being drafted since 2023. 6 Terrapins were selected in the 2025 NFL Draft, the 11th most of any program nationally, and Maryland's highest single draft total since 1986. So yeah, over last year, we 6 guys got drafted, and we weren't very good. So when you have 6, more and more I think about it, when you have 6 guys drafted on your football team, no matter what round they're going in, you should be able to be a decent football team, one would think. But we weren't very good football team, but we're going to watch Jalen Husky and Alan Herron both compete. And these are 2 guys where they're not like first through probably 3rd round picks. And the combine is really where a lot of these guys get drafted. Like, you know what I mean when I say that is basically, like, if Alan Herron has a big combine and all of a sudden he runs a really good time, he puts up a really good bench press, they'll end up taking him because they think he'll have tools and athleticism. Like, they'll take a chance on him in the 6th round or the 5th round or the 7th round. Like, that's kind of how this goes. Same thing with Jalen Husky. Like, a lot of Maryland guys tested well in the past combine. Like, I remember last year, Ruben Hippolyte tested really well, like ran one of the fastest times as a linebacker and ended up going in the 4th round to the Bears. And so if you put up a good combine time and you're able to be kind of an elite athlete and show some of those things off, whether it's a 40-yard dash, whether it's some of the cones, the shuttles, like different things like that, then that can improve the draft stock of Alan Herron and Jalen Husky drastically. I think they both have an opportunity to get drafted, but I honestly don't know where they will get drafted. If they do, I think there's a chance they go undrafted as well. I would guess we're looking at the 6th or 7th round, but don't quote me on that. So we'll see what ends up happening, but I think we would be like 6th round for either of those guys. But at the end of the day, if you get drafted, like, that's more than good enough. You just want to get your opportunity. They'll both be in a camp somewhere. It's crazy how many scouts these teams have. Like, they scout a ton. They scout every single school. And so you can't really get away. But so you will get your opportunity. They will get their opportunity at some point, but it's a lot easier when you're when the team actually drafts you. So I think that would be big for Maryland basketball or Maryland football. So we'll see what ends up happening, but putting more people in the NFL draft has definitely been something that Maryland has wanted to do. But that's all we have for today. Thank you guys for listening to Locked on Terps. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. We're here every day talking Maryland football and basketball. So thank you guys for listening to Locked on Terps.